When miraculous synchronicity ceases, 7 divine manifestations of prophetic transformation awaits. In the heart of an English village, Sarah believed in miracles. She prayed, she sang, she believed in the whispers of the wind that spoke of God's love. Each dawn sparkled with hope until it all unraveled. Her beloved son Thomas fell grievously ill, shrouded in mystifying symptoms that no doctor could decode. Panic gripped Sarah like a vice. She entered the church, the sanctuary filled with flickering candles, the air thick with prayer as if seeking to rise to heaven. Faces filled with somber concern met her own, reflecting the weight of their shared despair. Days stretched under the haze of uncertainty. The village rallied around them, turning to St. Jude, the patron saint of the impossible. Vicar's voice echoed, calling for prayer vigils every night. The villagers gathered, raising their supplications like offerings to the altar. Yet with every passing moment, doubt crept in like a shadow across Sarah's heart. Where was God? Where was the light in the darkness that she had clung to all her life? Then she met the elder, an enigmatic sage whispered about among local families. His eyes twinkled like stars against the night sky. "Sarah, dear one," he said, "the 7 manifestations of the divine are tied to your faith." His words rang like bells in her ears, stirring something deep within. Could there really be 7 divine states leading to transformation? Could something extraordinary await her weary heart? As the days crawled, hope dwindled. Alternative remedies, the herbal concoctions, the mystic stones, led to nothing but disappointment. Thomas's condition only seemed to worsen. Each failed attempt hollowed Sarah's spirit further. She felt adrift and alone in a vast sea of unanswered prayers. The village continued their nightly vigils, their voices melding into a symphony of hope, yet for Sarah, the silence was deafening. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. Just as despair threatened to swallow her whole, a prayer vigil unfolded about a week later. The room brimmed with palpable energy, a warmth that wrapped around her like a divine blanket. As the congregation prayed in unison, the atmosphere grew thick with sacred anticipation. Suddenly, through the stillness, a miracle came to life. Little Thomas stirred in his sickbed. His eyelids fluttered, a soft glow emanating from him that seemed to illuminate the dim church. Gasps filled the air. The spirit felt electric. Tears streamed down Sarah's face, her heart racing. Was it truly divine intervention or the echo of collective prayer? The villagers erupted into joyous exclamations, a wave of belief crashing over them, igniting a revival of faith that swept through the church. Questions filled Sarah's soul. How had this happened? What were the manifestations the elder had spoken of? The joy reverberated in the village, but so did the mystery. Thomas's healing was but a chapter, yet Sarah felt a new journey unfolding. What other divine revelations would they encounter as they continued to seek God's presence in their lives? The air buzzed with excitement and questions, a hopeful pull toward the divine beckoning her onward, leaving Sarah yearning for answers in the light of faith. The sun broke through the clouds the next day, casting golden rays upon the village as if to declare a new beginning. Sarah stood by her window, watching the world outside with a heart fluttering with hope and trepidation. Thomas, now awake, shone with a faint but unmistakable vigor. His laughter rang like a bell, sweet and hopeful, echoing through the once silent halls of their home. Yet beneath the joy, the whispers of the elder lingered in Sarah's mind, beckoning her to explore the deeper truths of faith. That afternoon, as she sat by Thomas's bedside, the old man's words began to take root. The manifestations, he said, were not merely signs, but divine invitations to deeper understanding, to a transformation beyond herself and her son. Sarah's heart beat faster. She felt drawn to uncover these truths, as if they were treasures hidden within her very soul. "Mother," Thomas said suddenly, a sparkle in his eye, "can we play outside? The sun feels so warm, and I want to see the flowers bloom." His simplicity warmed Sarah's heart. "Of course, my love," she replied, her spirits lifted. Artfully, she helped him dress, and they stepped into the garden, which vibrated with life and color. It felt like a celebration, a reminder of God's promise of renewal and joy. They wandered through the flower beds, Thomas pausing to admire each bloom. A butterfly flitted by, drawing his attention. "Look, it's like a tiny miracle, isn't it?" he exclaimed. Sarah smiled, seeing the truth in his words. Each delicate flutter was indeed a marvel of creation, a reflection of God's love coaxing forth life from the earth. She knelt beside him, feeling the soft grass beneath her hands, and a sudden surge of gratitude washed over her. But the mystery of the elder's message circled in her mind. What was the first manifestation? She pondered how her faith could lead to transformation, not just for Thomas, but for herself and perhaps the entire village. As evening settled and the sun dipped behind the trees, Sarah gathered the villagers for evening prayers, inviting them back into the sacred space of the church. The knowledge of Thomas's recovery was a balm upon many hearts, but she wanted to kindle a deeper yearning for understanding. "Friends," she said, her voice weaving through the twilight, "we have witnessed something marvelous. It feels as though a door has been opened to us. Let us seek out the divine manifestations together." In the flickering light of the candles, faces turned toward her, curiosity igniting their spirits anew. Whispers of hope mingled with questions. What could these manifestations be? What divine truths were waiting to be unearthed? As they prayed, the air felt thick with potential, like the very atmosphere was charged with miracles yet to come. Later that night, as Sarah tucked Thomas into bed, she softly whispered, "We will seek the light of God together, my beloved." In his sleepy gaze, she saw not just the boy she loved, but a glimpse of the divine purpose unfolding within their lives. And as she left the room, anticipation stirred in her heart. What awaited them in the journey beyond healing? What divine revelations would emerge as they continued to walk in faith? The flickers of promise danced in her spirit, igniting a longing deeper than any fear. As she closed her eyes that night, the question echoed in the silence, urging her forward. What would happen when the first manifestation revealed itself? The next morning dawned with an extraordinary stillness, one that felt almost sacred. Sarah awoke with a sense of anticipation fluttering in her chest, like the wings of the butterfly Thomas had marveled at, ready to unfold. Sunbeams streamed through the window, warm and inviting, and for a moment she paused, soaking in the light. Today was not just another day, it was a day to seek the unseen works of the Lord. With deliberate thoughts, she reflected on the elders' words. There was a divine purpose in their healing, a beckoning to deepen their faith and illuminate the path that lay ahead. Over breakfast, Thomas buzzed with excitement, his little hands reaching for the bread, but Sarah's mind drifted to the gathering later that night. She could almost feel the weight of the unanswered questions hanging in the air, eager to be transformed into revelation. "Where will we go today, Mother?" Thomas asked between bites, his eyes wide and innocent. "We will explore, my dear. We will search for signs of God's love in the world around us," she replied, her voice filled with warmth. They spent the morning wandering through the village. Children's laughter resonated from the nearby park, mingling with the sounds of nature. Together, they listened to the rustle of leaves and watched as the flowers danced gently in the breeze. Each moment felt infused with a purpose, each sight a whisper from the divine. As they approached the village square, they encountered some neighborly friends who gathered to share their weekly fruit and vegetables. Marjorie, an elderly woman whose skin was etched with time and wisdom, was peeling potatoes. Her face lit up when she spotted Thomas. "What a joyful boy you are, dear Thomas," she exclaimed. "Have you seen the flowers bloom, Marjorie? They're full of miracles." Thomas replied, his enthusiasm contagious. She chuckled softly, a twinkle of memory in her eyes. "You remind me of days long gone, filled with wonder. Never lose that spark, my child." Sarah felt a gentle pull at her heart. In simple exchanges like this lies the essence of community, the reflections of God's love made manifest. She realized how interconnected their lives all were, bound by shared experiences and the fabric of faith. Later, as they leaned against an old oak, Sarah spoke with her son. "What is God's first manifestation, my love? What do you think it might be?" Thomas thought for a moment, chewing thoughtfully on his lower lip. "Maybe it's a smile, or a hug, or the way flowers bloom." A tender smile graced Sarah's lips. All those things are miracles, gifts from God. But what if it's even deeper than we know? In that space of wonder, something shifted inside Sarah, as if a light bulb had turned on, illuminating a path she had yet to see. What if the manifestations were not just external events, but also internal changes within? As twilight draped the village in soft hues, the gathering for prayer loomed before them. Villagers began to trickle in, their faces glimmering with expectation. Flickering candles were placed in smooth hands, their flames dancing like thoughts grasping for the divine. As Sarah took her place at the front, a hush fell over the crowd. With a steady voice, she beckoned their hearts, encouraging them to open to the divine mysteries that awaited revelation. There is something powerful in our togetherness, something that can transform our lives. What if, by seeking these manifestations, we unlocked not just insight, but a transformative experience for all? Around her, the villagers stirred, intrigued and awakened. Whispers of agreement spread softly as they sensed there was more than just faith at play. As hands were joined in prayer, a collective breath filled the air. Sarah lifted her heart, seeking the divine with every ounce of strength, longing for answers yet unspoken. What awaited them at this sacred moment? What transformation could unfold through their unity and faith? As silence surrounded them, anticipation bubbled like a pot on the edge of boiling. The first manifestation was close, perhaps just beyond the veil, waiting to be revealed. The atmosphere was electrifying. Sarah felt it thrumming beneath her feet, an unseen current of hope and longing weaving through the gathered villagers. Each face was illuminated by the soft glow of candlelight, reflecting the quiet expectation shared among them. A sense of sacred unity embraced them, wrapping tightly like a warm cloak. As Sarah raised her voice, it carried through the dimming light. "Let's close our eyes and bow our heads," she invited softly. The villagers, responding to her gentle guidance, lowered themselves into their own sacred spaces. In that stillness, with the world pressing close, every heart pulsed in rhythm with the deep longing to grasp the divine. Sarah inhaled slowly, filling her chest with gratitude and awe. Each breath reminded her of the miracles they had witnessed, the little wonders that breathed life into their days. "Lord," she began, her voice steady yet tender, "we gather here in search of you, seeking to uncover the deeper meanings hidden in our hearts and lives. Reveal your manifestations, Let us feel your presence amongst us." Around her, murmurs of agreement fluttered like leaves caught in a gentle breeze. As their combined voices rose in prayer, Sarah's heart surged, echoing the shared aspirations. It was in this collective yearning that possibilities unfurled. Moments stretched, laced with hope. Then came an unexpected sensation, a warmth spreading within the circle, as if a soft light pierced the gathering shadows. Sarah's eyes flew open, as did many around her, all searching for the source of this profound experience. A feeling rushed through her, inexplicable yet powerful. Each flickering candle incorporated this new energy, illuminating faces awash with reverent wonder. The feeling tightened her chest, awakening a deep realization. The transformation they sought was already unfolding within. They merely needed to embrace it. Thomas, sensing his mother's reverence, squeezed her hand. In his innocence, he dared to speak. "Is this what God feels like, Mother? A hug from the inside?" A joyful tear slipped down Sarah's cheek, for even in his childhood simplicity, he encapsulated a profound truth. "Yes, dear heart, exactly that." The villagers began to look at one another, sharing smiles that sparked hearts alight. Sarah could see warmth moving across the congregation, like golden threads weaving them together. An unbroken bond spun from divine intent united them all. "May we not be just seekers," she continued, "but instruments of his love. May our hearts beat in sync with his desires." Soft nods rippled through the group, and then, as if summoned by their words, a hush fell once more. In that silence, the air shimmered with divine possibilities, ready to spill forth. Sarah could almost taste the anticipation, sweet and heady. Suddenly, a voice rose from the back of the prayer circle, trembling yet filled with courage. It was David, a solemn man known for his hardships. "But what if we aren't ready for what comes? What if our hearts can't bear it?" His fear was palpable, resonating in the depths of Sarah's understanding. "Each of us has faced storms, David," she replied gently, "yet what lies beyond them is a promise of transformation we cannot fathom alone. Together, our faith fortifies us. It opens hearts for the miraculous." At her words, a wave of understanding washed over the crowd. They were more than individuals. They were a community bound by shared struggles and blessings. As the prayer deepened, Sarah felt a tingle in the air like static before a storm. Was this what divine revelation felt like? She glanced at Thomas, whose eyes sparkled with delight, embodying pure belief. And as the candles flickered softly, a realization dawned in Sarah's heart. Transformation often came wrapped in a tapestry of fear and faith. What awaited them beyond this moment? What divine manifestations lurked just beyond their grasp, willing to break forth in unimaginable ways? The night was young, the air thick with expectancy. Their searching souls were primed for awakening, and deep down, she knew this was only the beginning. In the silence that followed, the air felt alive, a sacred energy pulsating through the space they shared. Sarah's heart whispered that the time for manifestations drew near. The villagers stood on the brink, peering into the unknown, each one ready to embrace whatever divine surprises awaited them. As if in response to this collective readiness, the candles' flames began to dance more fervently. A soft breeze stirred, curling around them like an affectionate sigh from the heavens. It felt as though God's presence wrapped the gathering in a tender embrace, coaxing them to peel back layers of doubt and trepidation. "Let's breathe together," she encouraged. "Inhale peace, exhale fear." They followed her lead, inhaling deeply, the fragrance of the candles mingling with fresh earth, filling the spaces between them with divine tranquility. With each breath, Sarah sensed hearts opening, fears melting away, replaced with courage and light. As the moment stretched, a sense of expectancy blossomed in Sarah's chest. It felt like standing at the edge of dawn, waiting for the sun to break through the horizon. She sought Thomas's hand once more, finding comfort in their bond. The innocence in his expression ignited hope within her, a deep knowing that children often glimpse the divine with unmatched clarity. Suddenly, Lucy, a soft-spoken woman with a heart that overflowed with compassion, stood up. "I've been feeling a shift in my spirit," she said, her voice gentle yet firm. "What if we are being called to share our stories, to affirm that we are not alone?" A murmur of agreement rippled through the congregation, hearts quickening. "Yes," several voices chimed, emboldened by Lucy's words. From the corner of the circle, an older gentleman named Samuel rose. His face was a map of the trials he had endured. "When I lost my wife, I thought all was lost," he began, his voice shaking slightly. "But the love we shared, oh, it was not in vain. God showed me that love carries on. I am here, healed, because that love transformed me." Tears sparkled in many eyes as Samuel's testimony hung in the air like a fragrant offering. With every personal revelation, a thread of golden light seemed to emerge, intertwining the villagers' hearts further still. Next, Sarah noticed David again, who seemed to be wrestling with his own uncertainties. "And what if our stories aren't strong enough?" he asked, vulnerability pouring from his words. "David," she said gently, "every story holds weight. Every struggle builds the strength we need to carry one another. Look around, your journey has already inspired us." She pointed to a woman named Mary, who nodded appreciatively. "Your struggle made me realize I'm not alone, David. It lifts my heart to know I share this path with you." The warmth of their connection radiated outward, illuminating their fears, revealing them as mere shadows against the light of shared experience. As the last threads of doubt faded into the night, Sarah surveyed the gathering, now aglow with an infectious enthusiasm for what God had in store. Each villager had shared a piece of their story, a plant sown in faith, pointing to a greater tapestry woven by divine hands. And in that moment, as the last of the fears surrendered, a soft sound like distant thunder grumbled in the air. The candles flickered wildly, and for an instant the world felt suspended, caught between the trials of the past and the promises of the future. "Now what?" she breathed, hardly daring to hope, knowing something sacred awaited their next move. What lay beyond the veil of their collective faith? What extraordinary transformations were poised on the brink of manifestation? The night invited them into deeper unveiling, a glorious synod of divine possibility. Yet amidst the echo of shared voices, Sarah found herself wrestling with an unexpected question. What if their most profound transformation required a leap into the unknown? What if they were being called to allow the miraculous to break through, not just for themselves, but for the world around them? As the night deepened, the gathered villagers stood on the precipice of something extraordinary. An unspoken anticipation gripped their hearts. Sarah felt it too, the anticipation coiling within her like a spring, ready to burst forth with radiant energy. Tension and excitement mingled in the air and seemed to hold them all together. She glanced around at the faces illuminated by candlelight. There was Lucy, eyes wide with wonder, and Samuel, still shimmering with the raw power of his revelations. David wore a mix of apprehension and hope. He looked like he was waiting for the moment that would change everything. "Hold on to your heart's whispers," she encouraged, raising her voice slightly to gain their attention. "These stories we've shared tonight are not just tales of the past, but invitations to step into the next chapter God has prepared for us." A low murmur of agreement flowed through the crowd. But somehow, a part of Sarah knew they could not turn back now. This was the moment for their village, a moment that could shift the very fabric of their lives. She felt compelled to delve deeper, to tap into the sacred energy coursing around them. "Close your eyes," she instructed softly, urging them to shut out the distractions of the outside world. Imagine reaching out your hands and grasping the threads of each story shared. Can you see how they weave together, forming a beautiful tapestry? As they drew within, a hush blanketed the gathering. The flames of the candles flickered as if agreeing with her words. Sarah whispered a prayer, a plea for inspiration, for guidance. Slowly, a gentle stir of wind curled through the space again, whispering of heaven touching earth. "Let's prepare for the unexpected," she said, voice steady. "Miracles are often wrapped in the fabric of the unknown." With that, Thomas squeezed her hand tightly, and she could feel the warmth of his innocent faith bolstering her own. It was almost as if he sensed the very essence of divine possibility compacted in each of their beings. A sudden pulse of energy thrummed through the air, brushing against their skin like a soft caress. Sarah opened her eyes, momentarily startled, only to witness a brilliant glow emanating from the center of their circle. "Is that—" Lucy stammered, eyes wide, reflecting a mixture of awe and fear. "Yes, it is," Sarah affirmed, her heart racing. "God is here. We are on the brink of something wondrous." The light swirled and coalesced into forms, shapes and colors merging, overlapping, showcasing visions of hope, joy, and healing. A collective gasp escaped the villagers, mouths agape at the sight. Tears ran down Mary's cheeks as she grasped David's hand tightly. "It's beautiful," she murmured, and others echoed the sentiment in hushed whispers. "Right here and now, the divine is manifesting," Sarah proclaimed, her own voice trembling with excitement. "I believe we are being called to step forth, to claim this unity. What if we release our fears and doubts, opening ourselves to the miraculous?" Everyone seemed poised, hearts synchronized with that vision, taking tentative steps toward the center, drawn closer by the divine illumination. Each step felt like shedding burdens they had carried for far too long. But then Sarah sensed an unusual fear circle back. What if this light dims?" David whispered, uncertainty creeping back into his voice. "No," she declared, addressing both his fear and their eternal hope. "A miraculous transformation cannot be extinguished. It only grows brighter within us." The light pulsed, responding to their awakened faith, spreading beyond the confines of their circle. It danced like lapping waves of warmth, caressing their skin, and edged out into the dark night around them. "Can you feel it?" Samuel asked, his voice quaking with realization as he lifted his hands in worship. "It's calling out, asking us to share this message with the world." "Yes," cried Lucy, her voice ringing with conviction. "Let's take this light beyond these walls." Yet, as they stood poised to embark on this sacred journey, shadows flickered at the edges of their vision, a reminder that the unknown carries both hope and fear. Where will this lead us? Sarah pondered, the unanswered question lingering over them like a divine riddle waiting to be unveiled. What awaited them in the world beyond this radiant moment? What extraordinary lessons and experiences lay hidden in the path of their divine calling? The villagers, emboldened and trembling with the thrill of the miraculous light, felt the sacred energy pulling them forward. Each gaze turned to Sarah, seeking her guidance as the glow began to pulse steadily like the heartbeat of their collective dreams. "Let this light be our guide," she urged, her voice carrying a weight that felt oh so important. "Remember, each one of you carries a piece of this divine tapestry. Together, we are stronger than we can imagine." The wind, gentle yet invigorating, wrapped itself around them, whispering secrets only the brave would pursue. As they took their first steps towards the unknown, an unshakable sense of unity enveloped their hearts. They were no longer just villagers. They were pilgrims on a sacred journey led by the hands of the divine. As they moved forward, Lucy turned to Sarah with her wide eyes shimmering in the light. "What if we fail?" she asked, vulnerability creeping into her voice. "What if we aren't enough?" "Failure is merely an opportunity to learn and grow," Sarah replied, her heart directed by divine assurance. "Disappointment doesn't diminish our worth or God's love for us. Even in the moments of uncertainty, blessings can emerge." Encouraged by her words, the group continued walking. With every stride, they felt the burdens of the past lifting. The light intensified, casting shadows of doubt and fear away. They no longer felt like mere observers, but active participants in a living message of hope. "Look!" exclaimed Samuel, pointing as the radiance cast dazzling patterns against the trees. "The light is leading us toward the mountains." Excitement swelled in Sarah's chest. The mountains loomed strong and majestic ahead, symbols of trials and triumphs lying within their grasp. The path might be steep and rocky, but the presence of God assured them that every step would be blessed. As they reached the base of the mountains, an overwhelming peace enveloped them. The villagers paused, breathing in the fresh air, each inhalation filling their lungs with promise. "Let's sing," Thomas suggested brightly, his innocence brightening the mood. The group came together, harmonizing soft songs of praise and gratitude. Their voices melded with the cries of the night creatures and the rustling leaves, creating a symphony of celebration that echoed against the mountains. Suddenly, a strong gust of wind swept through, almost as if the heavens were joining their chorus. "Look!" cried Mary, pointing up to the sky where the clouds parted, revealing a kaleidoscope of starlight. "The stars, they're shining brighter." "Every star a promise," whispered David, his voice nearly lost in the wind. A reminder that light can break through any darkness. That moment ignited a powerful realization within Sarah. "The stars don't shine simply because it's easy," she shared. "They burn even in the darkest of nights, just like us. We too can shine through our struggles." But just as a warmth began to settle over them, a sudden darkness loomed on the horizon. Shadows crept back, as if testing their resolve. The villagers sensed the shift. "What do we do?" Lucy asked, a trace of fear returning to her voice. "We press on," Sarah declared, her heart steady, inspired by their collective courage. "We face the shadows with our light, knowing that it is our faith that will illuminate the path ahead." With renewed fervor, the villagers surged toward the mountains, determined to embrace whatever awaited them. Their collective faith shone brighter than the shadows that threatened to swallow them whole. Yet, as they neared the rocky ascent, Sarah felt a different kind of pull. A question lingered, lingering in her spirit like an unanswered prayer. What divine encounters and unforeseen trials awaited them at the summit? What transformations could occur when they truly embraced the uncharted path ahead? As the villagers climbed the steep path, the air thickened with anticipation. Each step felt heavier yet more liberating, like they were shedding not just weight, but the very essence of their old selves. Sarah took a deep breath, drawing in the scent of earth and life around her. She could feel the presence of the divine in every rustle of leaves, every distant call of an owl. The mountains seemed alive, breathing hope into their weary hearts. "Stay close," she called back to the group, her voice firm yet encouraging. "The light may flicker, but we must not waver." They continued upward, the climb becoming steeper with every moment. Each villager's face glowed with determination, yet shadows danced along the edges of their spirits. As the darkness loomed ever closer, a chilling wind swirled around them, whispering doubts they thought they'd left behind. The air grew colder, and Lucy shivered, searching for warmth in her friend's eyes. "I can't feel it. The light, it's fading," she murmured, dread seeping into her tone. Sarah paused, feeling the weight of all their fears pressing in. "It's okay to feel lost sometimes. That's when we need to remember who we are. We are not defined by shadows, but by the light we carry within." A murmuring of agreement spread like a ripple among them, but a thick veil of uncertainty shrouded their spirits. Samuel, always the brave one, spoke up. "What if the light is not gone? What if we are simply being asked to dig deeper within ourselves to find it?" His words hung in the air, heavy with truth. In his innocent proclamation, a spark ignited within Sarah. Could their struggle be a divine invitation to dive into the depths of their faith rather than relying on the external light? Yes, her heart raced. Our next step may be a step in the dark, but it is a step toward discovering the brilliance we hold inside. Let's move forward, holding on to each other. With her encouragement weaving through the chilling air, the villagers began to sing once more, their harmonies merging together like a flowing river. The song was not just of praises, but a declaration of their resolve, echoing against the rocky terrain. Each note resonated with the promise that darkness could never extinguish the light dwelling within them. As they reached a plateau, the wind stilled. Breathless, they paused and gazed up at the towering mountains stretching into the night sky. But within the silence, something peculiar occurred. A flicker of movement drew their eyes. Emerging from behind a rock, an ethereal figure appeared. It was a woman cloaked in radiant light, illuminating the path before them in a way that felt both otherworldly and intimately familiar. "Fear not," she spoke, her voice melodious and warm, wrapping around their hearts like a comforting embrace. "You are seen, and your faith has brought you this far. Each of you holds a unique gift that is meant to shine. You are on the cusp of divine transformation." Gasps rose from the villagers, each one touched by a deep-seated love that seemed to speak right to their spirits. A gentle peace washed over them, erasing traces of fear. "But wait," Sarah urged, her curiosity piqued. "What are these gifts? How do we unlock them?" "Each trial will reveal your strength. Each moment of doubt will guide your light. Together, you will manifest the promises woven into your beings," she replied, her eyes gleaming like stars. Before Sarah could ask another question, the woman began to fade, her laughter lingering like a sweet melody in the air. What awaited them at the path ahead? What divine gifts would emerge from the depths of their souls as they ventured further into the unknown? With spirits aflame and hearts wide open, they pressed forward, ready for transformation. As the villagers stood on the plateau, a gentle glow of warmth enveloped them, the air vibrating with a newfound energy. Sarah felt her heart pounding, not just with anticipation, but a divine knowing that they were stepping into something grander than themselves. Their voices, still echoing, created a sacred space, each note weaving together prayers, hopes, and a fierce determination to rise. "Look," Lucy pointed ahead, her eyes shimmering with awe. "The path, it's illuminated." Indeed, a faint light danced along the trail that meandered deeper into the mountains. It wasn't bright like the sun, but rather a soft glow that seemed to pulse with life. Breath caught in their throats. The villagers shared glances filled with confidence and wonder, their fears momentarily forgotten in the presence of this so unexpected light. "Shall we?" whispered Samuel, already stepping forward, his courage infectious. The others nodded. Taking in a deep breath, they followed him, allowing the glow to guide their steps. The rhythm of their hearts synced with the cadence of their journey, paving a way illuminated by faith and hope. With every step, the air thickens with palpable goodness. The rocky terrain was now sprinkled with tiny flowers, purple, yellow, and white. How could such beauty thrive in a place that once felt so cold and daunting? Sarah knelt, her fingertips brushing the petals, marveling at their soft resilience against adversity. "What is this place?" Sarah mused aloud, the gentle breeze carrying her words. "It feels sacred." A sudden rustle made them turn. From behind a grove of trees, another figure emerged, a young boy, no older than 12, with eyes that sparkled like stars. He held a glowing orb in his hands, the same light that led them here. "You've come seeking your gifts," he said, his voice sweet as honey. "Each of you has a gift waiting to be revealed." The villagers gathered around, their attention riveted on him. "What do you mean?" Lucy questioned, her voice trembling with awe. "How do we find these gifts?" "With trust and love," the boy replied, his gaze steady and encouraging. "You must be willing to close your eyes and listen to your hearts. Only then can you see the treasures buried within." Silence covered them as they considered his words, the weight of his wisdom resting on their shoulders. Could it really be that simple, to search within themselves? The thought filled them with a mix of fear and hope. "Let us try," Sarah finally declared, closing her eyes, her heart racing. "Together." Following her lead, the villagers formed a circle, holding hands tightly. They remained silent, tuning into the symphony of rustling leaves, the gentle whispers of the mountain, and their own breath, a sacred rhythm uniting them. Moments stretched into eternity before Sarah was drawn into a vision. Wisps of light danced around her, revealing fragments of gifts: strength, kindness, creativity, compassion, each illuminated and vibrant. She gasped as realization washed over her. These weren't just gifts, they were the essence of who they were meant to be. The visions danced before each villager's eyes, igniting memories and aspirations long forgotten. Laughter, tears, and joy emerged, echoing through the air, a sacred testimony to their shared journey. Together, they created a powerful tapestry of divine potential. As the light dimmed and they opened their eyes, they felt different, lighter, more alive. Something profound had shifted. "What now?" Samuel asked, his voice a mixture of wonder and anticipation. "Now we begin to live out these gifts," the boy replied, gazing at each of them with an encouraging smile. "But beware, the path ahead holds challenges meant to test your resolve. Will you embrace them?" The villagers exchanged glances, a renewed fire igniting in their souls. They had faced darkness together, found light within, and now felt ready to forge ahead. But another question lingered. What trials awaited them, and how would they transform the gifts now revealed? With hearts united and spirits invigorated, they stepped forth into the unknown, ready to discover the true meaning of the miraculous gifts they had unlocked. As the villagers descended from the plateau, an undercurrent of exhilaration coursed through them. They spoke in hushed tones, airy laughter punctuating the sacred silence that wrapped around their hearts. Each had felt the weight of their gifts during that moment of revelation, the divine light illuminating not just paths unknown, but futures intertwined with purpose. Sarah walked closely beside Thomas, who skipped with joy. "Mother, do you feel it?" he beamed, his innocence a bright beacon. "It's like we're made of light." Tears welled at Sarah's eyes, but the warmth within felt full, embracing, not empty. "Yes, my love, we're meant to shine together." The group skirted through wildflowers thicker now, carpets of color blanketing the earth beneath them. Each step drew them nearer to the village. They could almost hear the familiar sounds of home, the sizzle of evening meals cooking, laughter spilling from doorways, and the soft hum of life that knits together intimate relationships. But shadows woven from uncertainty still lingered over them. Would their gifts stand against the trials that awaited? Each wondered what challenges lay in the embrace of their townsfolk who had prayed for them. After their miraculous experiences, would they truly recognize the divine changes that had occurred within themselves? Arriving back in the village, they were greeted with cheers and embraces. The familiar faces, etched with concern during their absence, glimmered with relief. Sarah felt the synapse of their collective energy reignite as she joined the warm embrace of every familiar neighbor. "Thomas, look how he's filled with life." A soft voice reached Sarah, Marjorie's. She beamed, clasping Thomas's face between her hands. "Little miracle, you have shone through." As each villager rejoiced, Sarah took the moment to gather her courage, the pulsing of her heart echoing her desire to share the profound transformation they'd embraced. Clearing her throat, she raised her hands gently. "Beloved friends, we have come back changed, not just from our time away, but by what we've discovered." She paused, emboldened by the kindred spirit of her community. "We want to share our gifts with you." A collective gasp swept through the gathered hearts. Curiosity glinted in their eyes, momentarily banishing doubts. "This journey has kindled a fire within us," Sarah continued, emboldened. "Each gift we've unlocked belongs not just to us, but to everyone. We have stories of strength, creativity, and compassion flowing in our veins, ready to be heard, ready to bless this village." A hush fell over the crowd. Hope blossomed like spring after winter's embrace. Weary hearts stirred. "What we've unearthed can bind us closer, uncovering miracles and renewing the fabric of our lives," Samuel added, his voice resonating with the depth of understanding he had gained. Whispers danced through the gathering as they absorbed the gravity of their words. Sarah couldn't help but notice how they were all leaning in, eagerly grasping those sentiments. Lucy stepped forward, emotions bubbling. "The challenges we faced leading us here, the fear, doubt, and darkness, they shaped us, revealing our gifts. Let's weave them together. What if we embraced our stories, told them, and created spaces for sharing? Our village needs community. We need to be each other's strength." Determined nods followed, hearts clenching together once more as a tapestry of love began to unfold. Over the next days, they set forth to bring their vision to life. In the village square, they established gatherings, moments when everyone could share a piece of who they were. They reminisced about the gardens that bloomed, the laughter that rang through valleys, and the resilience they had discovered in attempting times. With every story shared, a thread joined their hearts. Walls of isolation crumbled as deeper connections blossomed within vulnerability. Months began to pass, and the seasons echoed their renewed spirits. New friendships blossomed alongside vibrant flower beds, and laughter danced over the rooftops. Each villager carried a piece of divine light within, reflecting God's love in myriad ways. Yet, in the quiet corners of her soul, Sarah felt a gentle whisper urging her to dig deeper still. What happens when faith turns into action? One evening, as dusk began folding into twilight, Sarah gathered a few cherished friends in her garden. She filled them in on her dream of extending their mission beyond the village. "We've tasted transformation, but what about those beyond our borders? We have to share this love." With hearts beating as one, they brainstormed ideas and intentions. By morning light, they established a plan. A community-wide movement sowing seeds of hope and faith across neighboring towns. Days turned into weeks as they prepared. On the day of their mission, the village bustled with exuberance and anticipation. They created baskets filled with produce, handwritten stories of change, and small tokens reflecting their village miracles. An air of holy enchantment tinged the busy preparations. As the day unrolled, they traveled through the woods, an intertwining assembly of souls lined up, bound for cities distant. Together, they ventured down paths previously haunted by fear and uncertainty, now blessings paved by love and trust. Along their travels, they shared laughter and tears, poured love into strangers' hearts, and rekindled hope in shadows. Every encounter was marked with warmth, a testament to the connections they had forged. When they returned home, they found that their village had transformed before their eyes. Between the planting of seeds, illuminated hearts spread warmth like wildfire. Kindness bloomed not only in their village, but flickered on the edges of other towns, ensuring that miracles would rise, shine, and multiply. And so, Sarah and her friends carried on, with endless stories igniting the hearts that passed while weaving a luminous tapestry of hope and faith throughout futures yet to come. As the sun dipped beneath the horizon, bathing the village in golden light, Sarah looked around at the familiar faces gathered to hear tales of transformation, and she reflected. What began as a mother's life, transformed through anguish, turned into a revelation of God's divine artistry, woven together through faith, love, and community. This was the moment she had prayed for, pulling the threads that bound their lives into a masterpiece, bridging the gap between trial and triumph. The manifestation of life led to endless journeys of divine connection and undeniable miracles. Their story didn't end here. Rather, it was but the beginning. Now, dear reader, let this story inspire you. Join us and be an active part of this divine journey by taking the next step. You need to subscribe now to our channel. Don't miss these extraordinary faith stories that can uplift your spirit and illuminate your path. Leave a like now. Your support feeds the algorithm, allowing more seekers to find this life-transforming content. Comment below with your reactions and share your own testimonies. Your voice matters. It's part of the tapestry we create together. Share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation of hope and love. Don't wait even one more second. Be the light in someone else's journey. This is your chance to spread divine love and inspire many more hearts on their path toward transformation.